It is 9 a.m. on a Monday, which means that it is time to kick off episode 11 of Be in the Room live series, How to Stop Shrinking and How to Start Leading with Purpose. I am your host, executive coach Lauren Morrison, and I'm here today to talk to you about the leadership pipeline. Essentially, I've got some markers. And when I've got markers, that means that I'm going to break down some shit for you that is going to help you to lead at new levels. I'm going to show you today how what got you here is not may be the thing that's going to sabotage you when getting there. This whole series has been about bringing you the leadership tools that I teach to executives, that I teach to founders, that I teach to senior leaders in all different kinds of organizations, giving them the tools that they need to succeed at new levels. And I am bringing that toolkit to you because we can't wait for other people to invest in you. And sometimes we don't have the means to invest in ourselves. So this is my way of investing in you as leaders, as future leaders, as people who are going off, who need to be unlocked so that they can go and impact other people. Because I truly do believe that once we unlock you, so many other people are going to benefit. Once you get out of your own way, so many more people are going to benefit from the things that you have to bring, not only to your sphere, but potentially to the world, because leadership is all about the ripple effect. I am all about giving you the tools to not only have leadership in the moment, but to have resonance as a leader. Executive presence isn't just about how you show up in the room, but it's all about the mark that you leave once you've left. And with these tools that I'm giving you over the course of this program, you are going to have the ability to own the rooms that you are in, or to be able to create the rooms that you want to be in, that you want to see more of. All right, so let's say hello to some people. Good morning, Trishan. Good morning, Layla. Hey, Sean. Welcome. Hello, Malik. Good to see you all. All right. As I mentioned before, so just to give you a quick recap of where we're going, because it is episode 11. We are now in week 3. Hey, Leslie Ann. I keep calling you Leslie Ann. Leslie. It's just fine. So week 1 was all about emotional mastery. And what we did there is we really dove into emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence is the toolkit of leaders, navigating all of that emotional ambiguity and using it not as, and reframing how we see emotions from a leadership lens, not emotions as weakness, but emotions as powerful tools and data to solve problems, to make a greater impact, and to essentially be able to elevate your influence. Then in week 2, we talked all about, okay, well, now that we've got an understanding of the emotional landscape, what does it really take to make strategic decisions? We talked about how to build a plan that is based on values that are in alignment to you, how to build a plan and a strategy that's not going to burn you out because it is based on someone else's vision for you. We talked about, so we explored values, we explored time management, we explored creating powerful relationships, all of the things that are necessary tools to get you to that next level of leadership. Now that you have the leadership tools, what we're going to pivot into in week 3 is all about the identity of it all. Because here's the thing that I see leaders struggle with the most. What I see people struggle with is this idea that what made them successful, they rely very heavily on the traits and the characteristics and on the behaviors that got them to this point, that have made them successful at this point. And sometimes those are the very behaviors that are holding them back when it comes to leading at new levels. Each level of leadership that you go up in requires not only a mindset shift, a skill set shift, but also a value shift as well. Because how you serve value over here is going to look different. And that causes a bit of an identity crisis that causes many people to hold themselves back. Now, the things that I'm going to talk to you about today are applicable when it comes to whether you are in an organization and you're looking to, get promoted into new levels of leadership, whether you are in an organization and you are looking to launch your own business. So you're looking, out into entrepreneurship. What are the skill sets that you need there? And it could also be maybe you are already a business owner, but you are looking to scale your business. What becomes required? And this leadership pipeline that I'm going to walk you through today is going to really help you to better understand, especially if you are someone who is currently an individual contributor wanting to launch your own business, exactly the kind of pitfalls that you need to avoid from a mindset perspective and how you can skill yourself from a skill set perspective. All right, so let's say hello to some folks. Hi, Tracy. Marissa, hello. Hi, Gina. All right, so let's just kind of find out, where's everyone calling in from today? Where are you joining in from today? Hi, Tracy. Steph's and Jess. Hi. Hey, Maya. Okay. All right. Now, just to give you some, if anyone is interested in doing additional research on what I'm talking about today, most of what I'm going to be walking you through, the Leadership Pipeline, is based on a book called The Leadership Pipeline, and it's by Ram Charan, Stephen Drotter, and James Noel. I will put that in the notes once I repost this, okay? So again, the core idea of this, welcome. Oh, Sean's home today. Nice. We got Frisco, we got Texas in here, we got Claremont, California. Nice to see you. Who else we got? Of course, California. Lots of Californians. All right. So again, the core idea of today is that leadership, not looking at leadership as a single skill set, but looking at leadership as something that evolves through transitions, because each new level of leadership is going to require new values, time applications, and work. And what made you successful at one level may hold you back at the next. Welcome to London. Nice. All right. Kansas City. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through this pipeline. Let me make sure I have the right marker here. That one's the good one. All right. All right. So starting from level 1 from a leadership perspective. Now, when we start out, just even think about a skill that you've learned. When you start out, you usually start at this level here, which is individual contributor level. At the individual contributor level, you are essentially getting paid for what you know and what you do. Okay, so maybe this is something that you've gone to school for. Maybe it's a skill set that you've studied, that you've applied, right? So you essentially get hired or even launch your own business doing this thing that you're really good at, right? So again, as an individual contributor, your job is to provide the service that is in alignment with your skill set, right? Now, this may mean that you are currently not leading other people, that maybe you have someone who's above you, letting you know what the goals are, what the objectives are, et cetera, et cetera. Your job is to show up and do the work, okay? So that is level 1 of the leadership pipeline. Now, what happens? When you get really good at doing what you do at level 1, what normally takes place? You get really, really good at your job. Everyone comes, you become the reliable person. People come to you to get this thing done. What normally happens is someone comes, they tap you on the shoulder and they say, how would you like to be promoted to the next level? Right? So essentially, you're really good at what you do over here. We want you to now lead a team of other people and help them to lead at your level of performance. So this is the first transition that we have here, okay? So this is where we go from individual contributor to a single to a first line manager, okay? So the key shift here now is that when you are here and you have multiple of these people reporting into you, you are no longer the doer, right? Yeah, thank you, Trishan. I'm not left-handed. You are no longer the doer. You are no longer the person who actually delivers the work. You shift from personal results, from being really good at what you do, to now focusing on team results. So you're being measured not on how well you do the work, but on how well you're able to get how the results that your team is able to get underneath your leadership, which means that the skill sets that you need to learn here are the ability to delegate, to coach, and be able to give effective feedback. These are things that maybe you didn't have to do as an individual contributor. You didn't need to coach people on how to be exemplary at what you do because you were there to do it yourself. You didn't necessarily need to give people feedback to help them improve their performance because you weren't concerned with their performance. You were concerned with yours. So this one here, already you can see that this is a shift, and this is a big shift. Like, it's one line, but just imagine, and this is where so many people falter, whether you are running a business for yourself or whether you are in an organization. Because here you were getting valued, you were getting kudos based on what you do. And over here, you're getting kudos based on what your team does, which means you are relinquishing some of the control of the results. And that is difficult. For an all-star leader, for someone who is used to getting high achieves, kudos, gold stars, there's less of that here. And you are relinquishing that control to other people when you likely know how to do the job better than all of them. So what is it that a lot of leaders do? And what stops them from getting to this level is they continue to gravitate towards this level here, meaning that they don't delegate. They do the work themselves because it's just faster, because it's easier, because they have more control over the results, right? They have a hard time letting go of what they know how to do because this creates more uncertainty for them. And our brain, once again, from weeks one, we know how much our brains love certainty and how much our brains love the ability to solve problems. So right here is where you will find that you'll see problems for your team and you'll just want to go in and solve them yourself. Okay? Definitely, Tracy's saying it can be a challenge for sure. You must also understand what drives your subordinates exactly, which brings in the other level here of not just about the other mindset or skill shift that is required here is also empathy, right? So empathy is not coddling. It's not about being nice to your team, but it's about understanding the individual contributors within their team, what drives them, what motivates them, what looking at the work and we're looking at the work from their lens versus your lens. And this is a key skill set that a lot of people do not necessarily need to develop at this level. But definitely, if you are going to delegate effectively, if you are going to lead results through others, if you're going to coach people and remove yourself from the cycle of doing, empathy is a major skill that you need to start developing, learning how to listen, learning how to coach, and learning how to let go. Now, those people who are successful at making that shift then get to move to the next level of leadership. My marker's running out. Okay, so you might go from leading people to now the next line of leadership is now you're leading teams, which means that you're not just leading an individual, like a set of individuals, but you're leading leaders of leaders. Hey, Curtis, good to see you. You're leading leaders of leaders, right? So now even further removed from the individual contributor skill set, now it's about overseeing multiple number of these people who have multiple number of these people underneath them, right? So you become a manager of managers. So the key shift here is now you've got to start leading through layers, right? And you have to shift focus to now developing these leaders who are currently struggling to let go of the work, to develop empathy, to coach, to be effective coaches. Now your job is to figure out how to develop those leaders with those skill sets. And you're also shifting priorities, not just from looking at your team individually, but now you're moving more towards cross-functional, right? Because as this person here, you're likely the person that you report to has many of you, right? Which means that you don't need to just be concerned with what's happening in your stream, but you also need to be collaborating across the board as well. So building cross-functional relationships starts at level 3. Okay? Now, where people tend to falter in this one, the skills, the skill sets that we have here are failing to invest the time in actually developing second line managers, micromanaging, or staying too operational, which means focusing too heavily on what's going on down here instead of giving that autonomy or that power or the leadership toolkit to these people so that these people can be concerned about what goes on down here and you can be more concerned about what's going on here and what's going on here. So again, this is where we're starting to get more into a strategic lens, a strategic way of thinking. It's about getting big picture. And again, because there's more ambiguity, there's more politics, there's more relationship building, you can see how people will gravitate towards either this, being focused on here because this is what they know, or being focused on here because this is where they came from. Okay? All right, let me erase that because I don't want to confuse people. All right, so now once we get to that level of leadership. So again, over here, we've moved from the value of being the doer to being the coach to being the empathetic, right? Then over here, we've moved from that to leading through layers, now to further developing to leadership development, and also to building strategic relationships. All right, perfect. All right, good stuff. All right, now once you get really good at this level, now you're going to move to another level of leadership, which is where now you're not just leading a team of leaders, but maybe now here you're managing a function. So perhaps this is where we get to, like, let's just say we could call this the VP level. So now again, you're managing you almost are managing a business unit within a business unit. Okay. So now over here, we have to be concerned with new things, leading cross-functional, thinking more cross-functionally. So not again, just thinking about your parallel, but thinking more strategic, owning end-to-end accountability for the business unit or the function, right? So that means that ownership of everything that goes on down here is your accountability, right? And then balancing competing priorities, because again, you're getting a lot of inputs from here, 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 and here. And it is your job to be able to sift out what is noise, to prioritize ruthlessly, to be able to push back, to navigate difficult conversations, to build relationships so that the people here are less confused, so that the people here remain focused, so that the people here have clarity around what is required. So again, you can see here, now we're getting more into leaning more on relationships, leaning more on vision, leaning more around navigating difficult conversations, elevating your communication skills, building recommendations, and also, again, extreme accountability. Because at this level, we have to let go of the narrative of, well, it's this department's fault, or it's this department's fault, or if these ones would just get their shit together. No, this is your accountability. What will you do? All right. So where people get messed up here is over identifying with their department. Again, becoming the protector of the department. Like they become so very much interested in I have to protect my team. I have to advocate for the value of my team. And yes, all these things are true, but often it's to the detriment of it can be to the detriment of a larger vision. And from an organization perspective, people can start to look at you as not collaborative, as a roadblock, someone who gets in the way, etc. Now, this is why it becomes really difficult at this level, because you have all these people who have their preferences on how they want to do things, on how they've come to do things, on what they want, and balancing and becoming torn between the upward pressure and the downward pressure as well. So this is where, again, a lot of leaders struggle, because the tendency is to just want to protect the team. Just protect the interests of your function, of your team, versus getting bigger and looking at the big picture. Again, there's no right or wrong. These are just potential setbacks that we have. And then, of course, we could take this up another level to being there's another level here, but let's just say for argument's sake, we go up to the next level, which is like CEO level. This is where you're now leading the business. So this is where your portfolio, your C-suite, your job here, you can see how far removed you are from doing anything really. Your job up here is not to do anything. Your job up here is to set the vision, to set the long-term strategies, to live in ambiguity, to be able to navigate and make decisions based on information, pioneer things that have not been done, make decisions. The stakes of your decisions at this level are extremely high because what you do has the ability to impact negatively or positively everyone in your pipeline and across. Not only do you have a business to answer for, but you have shareholders to answer for. You have vendors to answer for. You're owning finances, like the financial literacy. This is all on you. So the CEO level, as much as we can often look at the CEO level as like the person who gets to play golf, that CEO level is burdened because again, you are responsible for modeling, building the cultural values and the ethics and setting the direction for the entire business. You are not getting kudoses or pats on the backs or job well dones. You are less likely to get feedback that is going to help you to grow and develop because you are basically at the top of the pyramid and people maybe are afraid to give you feedback or don't believe they have the permission to give you feedback. So you become isolated in your own growth and you're responsible for allocating resources to the entire enterprise, right? And again, this is where the pitfall comes in because as you're looking outward and become afraid to make decisions because of how high the stakes of your decisions are, this can often lead to short-term thinking. This is where some CEOs fail, is that they stick to not thinking long-term, to sticking to what they know, to what is safe, and losing the ability to evolve as a symbolic leader. Okay? So, once again, individual contributor, you are paid for what you know how to do. At level 2, when you become a leader of people, you are getting paid now for the value of empathy and coaching and leading results through others. At this level, you are evolving those and you are starting to moving away from what do I know to how do I empower? How do I put resources to building leaders beneath me? And also, how do I start to better understand the strategy, start to get to more long-term, relationship building and strategic thinking. Then over here, again, elevating that strategic thinking and leaning more on starting to take the big vision and move between like what are the balancing the requirements of the organization and your business unit or your function and balancing the requirements of what is being asked from you at an enterprise level. Then shifting up here is actually setting the direction of what the enterprise level looks like. So this is big vision. This is where it gets hard because you're not getting immediate dopamine hits of a job well done. Likely the things that you are doing at this level, you won't know if they pay off for another year, maybe 5 years. That is a scary place to be. Now, this is the reason why I think that this is so important for people at all levels to understand. Is because time and time again, this is what I see. I see people who are at the individual level and they are rock stars. They are so good at what they do. They're great at what they do. So here's the assumption that they make. Well, if I'm really good at what I do, I could just be my own. I could, instead of doing it for this guy up here, let me just do it for myself. Let me become the CEO of my own business. Let me now become my own boss. And you can see how much of a gap there is when it comes to skills, when it comes to values, when it comes to mindset, when it comes to experiences. There is a ton, but people believe that they could just rely on their technical knowledge and expertise in order to build an effective business. And this is why I see so many leaders quit from doing a business, because they can't understand why their rock star status at this level isn't translating immediately to entrepreneurship. And this is because they are so used to being told what to do that they get into analysis paralysis when it comes to setting a vision. They were so used to those really quick dopamine hits of being able to focus on being able to look at your work from a day perspective, from a week perspective, to now having to set a vision that's out 5 years, that's out 5, 10 years. And it's that in between that can become deflating, that can become where self-doubt is so loud, where we don't know how to navigate, where we've never learned to delegate, so we don't know how to take risks, we don't know how to make decisions that aren't guaranteed to give us gold stars. And I'm not saying that anyone needs to be a CEO before they in a company before they go and venture into their own doing their own thing. But what I am telling you is that do not take for granted the level that moving from individual contributor to CEO is a big jump. And you will need to tool yourself up on things outside of just what you know. You'll need to tool up on your emotional intelligence. You'll need to tool up on your relationship management. You'll need to tool up on your strategic thinking. And you'll need to tool up on how to establish a vision that is meaningful, that is impactful, and setting and leading by example. The thing that many people miss about what it takes to be a leader is you need to go first, which means that even if someone has the blueprint of what to do because they've done your business before, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is your blueprint, because you are coming at it from a different lens with different experiences, with different values. And as much as there is amazing freedom in being your own boss because it's permissionless, because you like, even for me to do this live series, I didn't have to ask anyone. I had the idea I should do a live series and I went with it, right? Versus if I had that idea down here, it would have to go through layers of business case, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a lot of freedom in being your own boss and living in this permissionless space. And it is also terrifying, because if you do not have that experience of extreme accountability by moving through these levels, then you are going to want to wait for someone else to give you that permission. You are going to miss blaming others for when results aren't good, blaming the economy, blaming the president, blaming clients, blaming vendors. You want to blame other people, and you just don't have that ability anymore. You can blame them, you can look to them, you can hold them accountable, you can identify where things went wrong. But at the end of the day, it's about, okay, that didn't work. What will you do next? And releasing yourself from the prison that is wanting to make the perfect decision. Releasing yourself from the prison of wanting to make the decision that is going to ensure zero risk and zero fallback and all the success. Gotta let that go. And you learn to let that go as you move up here. But at this place down here, you haven't learned that yet. So that is where things like getting coaching becomes a very valuable tool, because coaching helps you to close that gap. Getting into networks, getting mentors, anything that you can do, whether you are starting your own business, scaling your own business, or looking to elevate the next level, having mentors and coaches who have been here, who can help to guide that path and narrow that gap for you, is an invaluable tool. Hey, Lawrence, welcome. Yeah, it really does suck. That the accountability is always with us. People always ask me all the time, do you ever miss corporate? And I'm like, yeah, I miss it all the time, because I miss being able to blame people when things aren't going wrong. when things are going wrong. I miss that capability so much. And it is frustrating that anytime I'm not seeing the results that I want to see in my business, that there's only one person that I can look at, and that is me. And it's always, yes, there's this, but so what? What now? What next? What will you do with that data? What will you do with that information? Right? All right. Okay. Oh, Lawrence wants to join. Okay, let's do that. I don't, we're at the top of this series here anyways, so I think I invited you, Lawrence, but nothing's popping up. Oh, there it is.
Let's go. Special
Look
guest
at you.
star.
Look at
Special
you.
guest star.
Bum
Like,
rushing my live.
like Heather Locklear in Melrose Place. I am doing my get ready with me video. And I was like, you know what? I've got to jump in to your lives. You've been doing such an amazing job. And I was like, I've got to come see more. And you always drop these gems throughout the day. They're amazing.
Thank you. What was it? What was the gem that made you want to hop on from the toilet?
Not for the toilet. First of all, it's not the toilet. It's not the toilet. It's in the shower, right? Well, I'm out in the shower now. I'm wearing a bear outfit. It's fine.
Okay.
The gem was about blaming, and you know what's so
Yeah.
funny? This is so wild. Is I just was thinking about how look at the 2016 viral stuff, right? Everyone's looking at like the last 10 years,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people get stuck in oh, what happened? What was I like back then? Or, oh my gosh, it was so great. And corporates like that too, or just our lives are like that, where we start thinking, well, if only that didn't happen, or 10 years ago, someone screwed me over, or I could have done that. And we get stuck in that place in that 2016 instead of thinking, okay, that happened. What's next?
Yeah,
What
what can I borrow from that? Because I think a lot of people are looking back at their 2016 energy and being like, I miss that energy. Like, I
yes,
miss when I used to feel this way. It's like, okay, well, how do you bring that into what you're doing now versus like mourning your 2016 version of yourself?
yeah, they feel like it's like they're getting nostalgic about it. And they're like, well, that's gone. But wait a second, what happened there that you could bring forward? It doesn't mean you get stuck in there, but it's like, what could I take from there? What could I learn? And then how do I apply that to be even better? Because it's all a learning lesson, right?
Exactly. But even back to what you were saying there, where it's like, again, as we move up through this pipeline, there's like this, there is that stage of grieving that we don't often talk about from a leadership perspective or from a growth perspective. That as I move from here to here, I have to build space to grieve what made me successful here. Grieve the narratives, grieve the behaviors, you know what I mean? Like that's there, like there's grieving that happens all along the way. And I think that it's important that people understand that that transition in leadership comes with a period of mourning in order for you to move forward, because the people who are just like, oh, I got a promotion, that's amazing, let me just keep going, when they don't acknowledge what they're leaving behind, they just get stuck moving back toward it.
Spot on. Grief means to let go. And
Yes.
you cannot move forward without letting go. The two can't exist. Anyways, I've hijacked your live. I love it.
That's
Keep going.
okay, I
These are
was done
amazing.
anyways.
What's that?
I was done anyways. But good spoiler, because not spoiler, teaser, because Lawrence is going to be on my live next week,
That's right.
an actual invited guest,
This
and
wasn't planned, by the way. This was not planned. This was just me being very obnoxious and jumping in.
on the toilet. But Lawrence is going to, and he's going to be talking all about effective presentation skills, how to not only just be a leader, but how to speak as a leader, how to own presence and command presence in a room through public speaking, which you are incredible at.
That's very nice. All right. Amazing. Keep going. These are great. Looking forward. And okay, I'm gone.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Lawrence, for jumping in. And just a quick as we say goodbye to Lawrence. So once again, thank you all for joining this live where we talked about the leadership pipeline so that you can begin to understand the identity shifts that we are going to be uncovering over the rest of the week. Again, leadership, a lot of the tools that I've been talking about over the course of this program and within the and within this live are covered in my book, Be in the Room, which is releasing tomorrow. Be in the Room, How to Stop Shrinking, How to Start Leading with Purpose is releasing tomorrow. So if you are interested in getting your copy of the book, you just need to comment the word book in this live right now, and you will get a link to pre-order the book that will come to your door as soon as it's released tomorrow. No, Trishan, he won't be on the toilet. All right. Thank you all. Just a quick setup in terms of, so tomorrow we're going to continue on this path of leadership identity, on how to own your leadership identity. And understand what it is that you are signing up for as you move through various levels. Again, this is applicable if you are working within an organization and looking to move up, if you are working within an organization and looking to build your own thing, if you have already built your own thing and you are looking to scale that vision. All of this applies. Every level of scaling of leadership transition requires a shift in how you think, requires a shift in how you operate, requires a shift in how you associate yourself to the word value, to how you bring value. And what got you here is likely to hold you back when it comes to here. All right. And so emotional intelligence coaching lives like these are going to help you to identify some of those patterns so that you don't unconsciously self-sabotage the way that I see a lot of leaders do and hold themselves back and take years off of their progression because no one's ever shown them this. All right. These lives are daily, Tracy. They are every morning at 9 a.m. Tomorrow actually will be the exception. I will be coming on at noon Pacific time, but they do get reposted. So, yes, for the next 2 weeks, because my commitment was to do 20 lives over the month of January. So, for the next 2 weeks, I will be coming on at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, unless, of course, I specify otherwise, which will be tomorrow, where we were going live at noon. But I will put all this in my stories. All right. Thank you all for joining again. Thank you, Lawrence, for jumping in. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow for book launch day.